It says recording will start soon. Welcome to the 35th annual Pierre Berton Awards ceremony. This Google Meet recorded version is simply an effort to document our winners and finalists and to keep the tradition alive in some form. Thanks to Esther Yermis, James Harkness, Deborah Schwartz, Gabby Pavlovic, and Britta B. for being our adjudicators. In these pandemic days, further bruised by social injustice and civil unrest, both in North America and in Hong Kong, it's a treat to spend some time celebrating student writing and hopefully encouraging more writing. This year, we had over 240 students compete. Their entries were submitted to turnitin.com in the late fall and early winter, and Ms. Schwartz's Writer's Craft class whittled those down to the top 10. Those top 10 were given to teacher adjudicators who broke them down to top 3 finalists, with each category receiving a winner in the junior and the senior levels. Normally in this ceremony, Ms. Schwartz's Writer's Craft class punctuates the afternoon with slam poetry, but not today. The format of the day will be as follows. The adjudicating teacher will explain why he or she selected the finalists they did. Normally, the student would come up, shake hands, receive a certificate, an anthology, and a trophy if they won their category. This year, it will be different. I will store your beautiful Nick Chow designed anthology and give them to you as early as possible. Probably in the fall, maybe for our grade 12s during a homecoming, or maybe when you return your textbooks in late June. We'll have to wait and see about the handshake. So our first teacher adjudicator will be Ms. Yermis, and she will be examining the essayist of the year.
Hi, everybody. I wish I could say it's nice to see you, and soon we will see one another. Okay, the junior essay winners examined 3-Day Road. In her essay, Our Choice for First Place, Alexis tackles the issue of defense mechanisms in the context of storytelling. That alone qualifies as award-winning. Psychologists grapple with issues like this throughout their professional careers. For Alexis, 3-Day Road provides us with a compelling example of storytelling as a means of overcoming trauma. She effectively examines Xavier's repressed emotions and Niska's compassionate intervention. Congratulations, Alexis. Maya's analysis of internal and external conflicts in 3-Day Road is a sophisticated glimpse at the concept that war can reveal one's genuine nature. She reminds us that both Xavier and Elijah had forged identities long before they became soldiers, but the war evoked in them both characteristics that had not surfaced before. No one, Maya asserts, is exempt from the scars of battle, be they emotional or physical. Congratulations, Maya. Clearly, 3-Day Road provides a wealth of material for our junior essay writers. In The Purification of Inauthenticity, Elaine grapples with a very complex examination of what happens when we live inauthentically. She studies the psychological elements of the novel in the context of traditional purification methods that Xavier and Elijah practice. This is an insightful, cogent study of psychological turmoil and spiritual redemption. Congratulations, Elaine. And now the senior essay writers. Choosing this year's senior essay winner was among the easiest assignments I've had all year, for many years, in fact. Shreya managed to compose an analysis of the history of love that not only channeled Krauss's style, but which also expressed to us the magic, the beauty, the heartbreak of the story in an essay that bridges formal essay writing with an informal style that is typically found among professional writers. Shreya's affection for the characters is striking, and her conclusion was so powerful in invoking the novel's conclusion that I can barely read it without breaking down. Read the essay, read the novel. They're stunning. Congratulations, Shreya. Two of the other noteworthy senior essays discuss another novel, Everything is Illuminated by Foyer. Nora's essay, A New Dimension, deserves accolades for doing something extremely difficult. She dissects and analyzes a complex work of art without destroying the lyrical beauty of the original. Everything is Illuminated is replete with various narrations, unusual typographical choices, words that blend into one another. It's a potpourri of prose and poetry. Nora addresses each choice with insight and appreciation, and she builds to a climax, reflecting the novel's climax. This was a challenging subject, and Nora addressed it eloquently. Congratulations, Nora. Everything is Illuminated is a complicated novel. It addresses the Holocaust, but it includes profoundly funny, lovable, charming passages. To delve into the humor of such a work requires a delicate but incisive touch. Nina accomplishes that with skill and sensitivity. The examples Nina cites are carefully chosen to demonstrate the juxtaposition of tragedy and comedy, and she explains clearly and concisely the importance of humor amid the character's heartbreak. Congratulations, Nina. Congratulations to all the essay writers.
Thank you, Miss Yermis. Visually, I see a lot of applause. You've warmed everyone's heart. Next, James Harkness will go over their winners and finalists for the dramatic excerpt.
Speaking about the finalists, I'll start with the finalists and finish with the winner. The first finalist I'd like to speak about is Inside Looking Out by Taylor Lamb. This is an intriguing monologue, effectively capturing the character's voice while presenting a moral dilemma of sorts. The character of Johnny is asking the chief of police to consider allowing his unconventional and excessively violent approach to policing in order to see better results. The piece presents a fitting commentary for our times, specifically around the use of force and brutality as a means of control, but also more universally as an examination of what happens when we allow getting quicker results to cloud our judgment instead of doing what is right and just. The piece also plays nicely with a sense of meta-theatricality. The character is talking through a one-way mirror, but he's also, as he's speaking to the police chief, because he's speaking through the one-way mirror, he's also directly addressing the audience. This is a remarkable use of staging. Taylor Lamb, well done. The second finalist is Enigma by Nika Bakhtari. This is a piece that lives up to its namesake. It revolves around a mystery. It's a whodunit that opens as more of a what happened. The suspect, Adele, is being interrogated by Noah, the investigator. The pair talk in what appear to be circles, but they're definitely circling. They're circles that revolve around a point, sometimes bringing us closer to that point, while other times moving us further away from it. The characters clearly have a history together, but the nature of their relationship remains enigmatic. The piece ends on a fantastic note, revealing everything or nothing, clearing the air or muddying the water, so to speak. Nika Bakhtari, well done. And the winner for the dramatic writer in the junior division is Carol Lewin's Empty Dreams by Leah Ashkenaz. This monologue is a piece that wins for its accurate capturing of a unique character who moves from joy to anguish. As Carol talks herself through the experience of the pride she feels for her daughter's success, she is conflicted while reflecting on the impact of all the sacrifice this has had upon her own life. From the opening suggestion of a more upbeat Patsy Cline tune to the backroom diner aesthetic established in the stage directions, we see and hear a woman living vicariously through her child's success. As she realizes that she is not her daughter and that she actually resents her daughter for her success, she is then hit with a remarkable sense of shame and guilt, acknowledging she can't truly feel happy for her daughter. It's a very insightfully observed piece on a subject matter so many years beyond the writer's age and experience, which I believe testifies to the power of the arts in creating empathy in students. Leah Ashkenaz, fantastic work. Moving on to the senior writers, I'll speak about the finalists first and do the winner at the end. The first senior finalist I'd like to speak about is "And How Does That Make You Feel?" by Ella Frank. The moment I read this piece, I was taken in by the subtle, nuanced use of humor. Beth and Leo are co-workers. They're therapists in a mental health center. Beth is considering leaving her husband and takes this opportunity to share her feelings with Leo. Leo has feelings for Beth that are beyond the professional capacity in which they work, and he decides to take this opportunity to confess his interest in Beth. Beth, of course, doesn't feel the same way, but she receives his confession in a very cynical manner, providing comedy and free therapy. At the end of the scene, we are left wondering if Leo really has benefited from this session, or whether he just says all the right things as the patient. This almost sterile approach to one of the messiest, most vulnerable human emotions, love, provides pure comic gold. Ella Frank, fun and insightful writing, well done. The second senior finalist is Family Dinner by Betty Lai. This gritty piece of kitchen sink realism, yes, there literally is a kitchen sink in this play, beautifully captures the pain of a mother who struggles with addiction, hoping for a second start or a last chance with her children, Frankie and Allie. The dynamic between the kids and their differing versions of the past is intriguing. Allie, the older protective sibling, clearly remembers the pain and the carnage the mother's addiction wrought upon the family, while the younger Frankie remains more open and accepting. The final scene is riveting as Allie catches her mother with a glass of liquor at the kitchen table, assuming nothing has changed, while we, the audience, have just witnessed her pour out almost the entire bottle, showing us the tremendous torment and conflict this character is wrestling with. Betty Lai, bravo for capturing this pain and conflict so convincingly. And finally, the winner for dramatic writing in the senior division is Fine Tuning by Jamie Schwartz. In Fine Tuning, we see a young woman writer, Noelle, eagerly trying to please her senior, not so subtly patriarchal editor, Liam. Initially allured by Liam's power and influence in literary circles, she listens attentively to his feedback, ignoring his minute sexism and acquiescing to his assertions of what the story needs. However, as it becomes clear that he is completely inserting his own ideas and rewriting the story to fit his own hackneyed and outdated ideas of what fiction needs to be, she must assert herself and stand up for her ideas and literally find her voice as both a young woman and a writer who deserves her place at the table. In a relatively small amount of stage time, this piece packs a lot of humor and relevant commentary. Jamie Schwartz, you have certainly earned your place at the table in the prestigious winner's circle of the Pierre Berton Writers Contest for 2020. Bravo. And that is it for the dramatic writers.
Thank you, Mr. Harkness. That was generous, beautiful. I have the honor of going over the informal writing pieces. Informal writing is anything that isn't a formal essay or a typically formatted short story, and anything can fall under this category. The three juniors in this category are all burgeoning writers willing to take some risks without being pretentious. Hannah Park's Dear Man on the Moon is a series of 4 emotionally intimate letters to the moon, conveying loneliness and disappointments. Hannah feels most connected to the moon when she is at her most despondent. But in her final letter, when she seems to get her life back together and find some positive paths on which to journey, she is unable to find her old friend, the moon. This is a tender and poignant entry. Good work, Hannah. The second finalist is it's titled Existential Crises and Other Line 2 Pastimes by Ellen Pocobelli. She shares a snapshot of a teenager watching an old lady on the subway, but in doing so, she realizes that she is really watching her future self. Just as little kids love to stare at their parents in an effort to figure themselves out, Ellen is aware that she has a finite number of youthful days. Where she really won me over was with her metaphorical flourish at the end. This is the quote. A driver mumbles something, the subway jerks to a standstill, terminal station, or maybe one where you can switch lines. She stands, we stand, and the subway empties. Ellen must have an ear for language because those words terminal station are always jarring. Oftentimes on my way to Earl Haig, I've been involved in a book or in a daydream, and I've forgotten to get off at North York City Center Station, and then I find out that I'm on terminal station, and I feel like I've been terminated. I also love the idea that maybe it is the end of our metaphorical line, or maybe we're going to switch stations. The winner in this category in the junior level was James Lee, and he had a wonderful piece called A Monster on Wheels. Jamie's writing is honest, economic, vivid, and as a bonus, he ends with a flourish connecting back to the beginning. The story starts with his mother's advice to look both ways before you cross the street. And this is a story of him and his little brother being hit by a car as they cross the road. Certainly every parent's, every cyclist, and every driver's worst nightmare. Jamie takes us right into the physical crush and drag of the accident with some tight writing. It concludes with a police officer asking him to fill out a police report, including every detail. And Jamie writes down what his mother's advice was when he and his little brother set off. He starts the report with, "We looked both ways when we crossed the street." Jamie Lee has a good future as a writer. The senior category was a whole other beast. The top three all dealt with family relationships. In What Comes After a Hurricane, Oscar McGrath addresses his grandfather's sexual exploits as he slept around Toronto's gay village in the 1970s. Oscar is able to get these stories through his father, and he's dying to mine his grandfather for more information about his friends who died of AIDS and his secret adventures in bathhouses and trying to avoid the cops. Of course, to a teenager, these adventures seem even more wild when they see a very old man they're trying to reconcile that he was once a sexual force of nature. This great material, Oscar, worthy of wonderful exploration. Fine work. The next piece was Then Now by Nina Katz. It's a confession of self-blame from a child after their parents' divorce. Nina has isolated a specific moment, wanting to relive specific moments of the past in the vain hope that we can magically rearrange complex matters of the heart. In Nina's personal narrative, she ruined the perfect family winter night by a snowball. She was haunted by her self-confessed overreaction, and she has shouldered the guilt of ruining her parents' marriage by ruining a single evening. Many of us who know Nina recognize that she is not only whip smart, but she has a warm and loving heart. Both shine through in her writing. Beautiful piece, Nina. The winning entry in the senior category of informal writing was The Loss of Culture by Sanya Nairusha. She wins because of the quality of her writing and her straightforward approach in tackling the biggest theme of almost all literature, loss. Sanya regrets the years she spent when she first moved to Toronto from Bangladesh, when she tried to deny who she really was. She writes, "I spent years disguising my culture, hiding it away under layers of westernized clothing in an anglicized vocabulary. I prayed to rid myself of it. At school, I refused to bring roti for lunch or wear a kurti for Multicultural Day. I didn't want to have skin the color of copper or earth. I preferred the peach and ivory colors of my friends. Over so many years, I let myself discard the pieces of intricately woven heritage like scraps of paper I would no longer need." Sanya doesn't sugarcoat it or put a Pollyanna spin on it. She simply creates a diary of regret for a loss she knows she is responsible for. It's honest, clean, and effective writing. Sadly, even the Bangladesh she once knew no longer exist because she's changed. Congratulations, Sanya. Next, I will ask Deborah Schwartz to adjudicate or go over her choices for, I'm just looking for her on the sheet here, for poetry. Thank you.
The poetry selections included in the anthology this year, they showcase the work of a group of talented young writers. In the junior category, the first finalist, Tuba Rahim, in the poem The Last of You, uses imagery and repetition to capture the often bittersweet nature of memory. Thank you for your contribution, Tuba. In our next poem, in the poem The Circus, the next finalist in the junior category, Selena Lee, uses an extended metaphor and imagery to give voice to the critical self-reflection that so many of us experience but often do not express. Thank you for your thoughtful contribution, Selena. In the next poem, in the poem Objects in the Mirror Are Closer Than They Appear, the winner in the junior category, Whitney Chow, has skillfully used imagery to create a vivid poem about dealing with past hurt and the importance of time and support in the process of healing. Thank you for your contribution, Whitney. In the senior category, finalist Farouz Abedin uses imagery and anecdotal elements in her beautiful work, Mac Garden, to capture the paradox of being contained inside an oasis. It can be both a paradise and yet serve as a barrier to the outside world. Thank you for this authentic and beautiful piece. The next finalist in the senior category, Zoe Bayless, her poem Cold Cruelty is the exploration of the archetypal leather jacket and all the symbolism it holds. Zoe balances humor, earnestness, and juxtaposition with artful precision, while still using vivid imagery to engage her readers. This is an outstanding poem. Thank you for your contribution to anthology, Zoe. Next, in her poem, You See It's Okay, winner in the senior category, Marjan Kaivani. She uses alliteration, imagery, juxtaposition, and powerful anecdotes to capture the way in which we all struggle to find our voice, see both the beauty and ugliness in the world, grapple with both the past and the present, and try to find a place and meaning amidst a lot of chaos. It's a sophisticated and artfully crafted poem. Thank you for sharing this, Marjan. In addition to these finalists, I also want to celebrate the work of those who wrote slam pieces that have been included in this anthology. So the first one, in the poem Losing Comfort, Lauren Kovacs captures through both strong imagery and attention to rhythm and flow, the challenge that moving from the safety of childhood into the unknown world of adulthood can present. Thank you so much for this submission, Lauren. And finally, I want to say a big thank you to the Poetry Club. Marjan, Lauren for founding it, Nina, Trinity, Ella, Zoe, and Vicky for their contribution to the anthology. You all came together as a community of writers. You collaborated to produce a piece that captures individual voices while still being cohesive at the same time. You show how poetry can capture authentic voice, aid in creating a sense of community, foster understanding, and feed the imagination. It was a pleasure working with all of you and seeing you guys connect. I'm sorry our time got cut short and that the work couldn't be performed, but I'm glad that we can honor your work and talent through this anthology. Thank you. Thanks for your contributions, poets.
Thank you, Ms. Schwartz. That's perfect. Next, we'll have the short story evaluations by Gabby Pavlovic.
Thank you. So in the junior category, the first finalist is Gianna Binder with her short story, Blue Eyes. Blue Eyes is a captivating story that is engulfed in figurative language. The visuals are spot on as she says, her lips quiver like an aspen tree in the storm's harsh winds. The story unfolds as the young protagonist fears death from the blue eyes that she once trusted, that she once found haven in. The tense atmosphere and fast pace results in an excellent read. Well done, Gianna. The second finalist is titled The Truth by Tuba Rahim. The Truth presents itself as the shortest Shakespearean play ever written. In just 50 words, a kingdom falls at the presumable hands of the Majesty's Guard, and the cause is suggested in a simple line, as the king's crown fits loose around his head. Despite its length, the story is long and familiar as we think of the many great plays by Shakespeare. Great creativity, Tuba, very impressive. And the winner for the short story at the junior level is Sanity by Amber Stuffers. Sanity offers an uncomfortable story of a murdered mother with her daughter convicted in the first degree. However, the foundation of this story is set in the battle between being a villain and a victim. The question Amber explores is, which is better? Sanity reminds readers that the answer to a conflict cannot be found when looking at it in black and white. The inner workings of a conflict, ones that are often overlooked, reveals the greatest truth. She stresses that there is much more to a story than what one can see on the surface, and Amber makes this very clear. Well done. And for our senior winners, the first finalist is by Nina Katz, titled Clipped. Clipped shares a common struggle among parents and children. The complicated feeling of a parent who isn't being heard is coupled with a deep resentment from the child who yearns for independence. Nina captures the moment where each side surrenders and finds beauty in conversation and compromise. I thoroughly enjoyed reading your inventive view of this conflict and how the resolution played out with the monster in the sink. You'll have to read to know what I'm talking about. Well done, Nina. The second finalist is Face to Face by Parisa Gada. Face to Face is an influential story that reminds its readers that sometimes you will find peace with yourself when you least expect it. Noah, the protagonist, only understood and overcame his fears when he was literally running away from them, and only then was he able to live in harmony with himself and those who heighten his insecurities. As Parisa writes, he had faced his fear when he admitted his fears. Thank you for an uplifting story and one that everyone should read. Well done, Parisa. And finally, our winner of the short story writing at the senior level, A Joyous Occasion by Mikhail Ali Kadir. A Joyous Occasion is a story about marriage where love is absent, where marriage is instead framed as a transaction and an opportunity. The guest list, as Mikhail suggests, is cozy, with uncles, aunts, cousins, second cousins, third cousins, servants of families, servants' families, business associates, servants of business associates, the list goes on. The process of marriage is paired with this manufactured joy and celebration. It's incredibly well written and was a pleasure to read. Well done creating such an interesting and powerful story, Mikhail, and well done to all of the winners.
Thank you, Ms. Pavlovic. That was beautiful. Appreciate it. Now I'm going to introduce Britta Badur, or Britta B, by reading the preamble I had in the anthology. I just pieced this together from some information online on our long experience with her. So Britta Badur, otherwise known as Britta B, is a spoken word poet and a longtime friend of Earl Haig's English department, having adjudicated 5 of Miss Schwartz's grade 12 slam fests. Originally from Kingston, Ontario, she now resides here in Toronto, on Roncesvalles, but also lives on the internet through her involvement with TED Talks. Britta B is an instructional spoken word artist for TDSB Creates, Poetry and Voice, and Louder Than a Bomb. She is a youth mentor, an MC, and a teaching artist. We are honored to have her here as our outside adjudicator, and she decides who the writers of the year are, both in the senior and the junior categories.
Oh, this is such a wonderful pleasure. I'm so grateful to be able to share this with you. And I want to give a major congrats to all of the writers for your works. Thank you so much for being contributing writers and creatives in this community. I'm very excited to announce the Junior Writer of the Year for Carol Lewin's Empty Dreams by Leah Ashkenaz. I loved this piece. I listened to Patsy Cline as I read through it, and there was some really nice beats and great choice of timing and space within the dialogue and monologue. A simple yet strong and clear message. I found the piece to be haunting and to have a lingering presence conveyed through choice of music, the soundtrack, on stage actions and words even unsaid by the protagonist. So congratulations to Leah. For our senior writer, I'm very, very excited to share the winner for the Senior Writer of the Year who was just announced moments ago, A Joyous Occasion by Mikhail Ali Kadir. This piece had such great rhythm, cadence, and pacing through very clipped sentences of action. We got just a little note about the guest list and all the people and characters that were sharply defined, and we learned so much about each of them with very little time spent on the description. I found that very fascinating. And my favorite section was when the mom said, "Poor thing," when the narrator had said about the mom, "Poor thing was flushed red when she came back in. She sounds exhausted, as though she had put the project of piecing the world back together on pause." Congratulations to you both.
Thank you, Brittany. That's terrific. Normally, here's my line for the closing part of our ceremony. I would say food and photography will bring us together, food for the next half hour or so, and photographs for the next year. Usually our culinary arts kids have prepared some sandwiches and snacks, and we have the kids from the yearbook take photographs, and we put them up on the outside window of the English department at Earl Haig. None of that can happen, but I will make sure that each of the adjudicators has a copy of the anthology, and thank you for your generosity. So once again, we appreciate it, and thanks for encouraging our students' writing. Thank you. And I'm going to press the stop record button now.